Let me hit OK. All right. Okay, so yeah, so essentially, back in after the 1993 apology, and then watching many of my cousins and families and friends arguing the sovereignty issue in court, the findings that the courts would rule is that it's a political question and dismiss the cases. And so I looked at the following year was the elections for the governor's race, and when I looked at the makeup of the structure of the Hawaiian government, essentially what the Republic of Hawaii did was they just turned all of the island governors into mayors positions, and then they labeled the king's position as the governor. And so I linked that up, and I said, well, if the governor's race essentially was the queen's position at that time, so I would enter the elections on that note. So prior to that, we were doing these things called expatriation. You would expatriate from the United States. And later on, I learned, I was like, well, if Hawaii really wasn't, legally annexed, then those things pretty much are mute. So within the last 30 years, there were so many different cases that kind of gave me a really better idea on how I could tune up this particular complaint. And so essentially the only issue that is going before the court is that the election is that the election that's being held in Hawaii constitutionally and by treaty on both sides of Hawaii and of the United States. The foreigners are prohibited from voting in Hawaii. So the foundation that I'm bridging with is the laws that are in the books on the Hawaiian Kingdom. All I did was pull that statute, and it articulates that the United Kingdom and the United States citizens are prohibited from voting in Hawaii. So I attached that as the authority of Hawaii. And because of the 2020 decision on the McGirth versus the state of Oklahoma, where the treaty is an issue, and then the judgment was ruled in favor of the tribes to now have the treaty in force in the state of Oklahoma. I figured, okay, well, Hawaii have these treaties, and so I'm utilizing that already case precedent to enforce the treaties of Hawaii. And because there's the other law with Kauai versus Norton that says Hawaii's history, Hawaiians cannot be treated like tribes because Hawaii has a different history. It's that of co-equal sovereign alongside of the United States. So I'm just using those two criteria and compelling Title 5 United States Code 3331 to enforce the treaties. And then we'll go from there, see what happens.
So I'd love people to, you have questions about that? Because basically what he did right now is he filed a complaint with the lieutenant governor based on the treaty, not on sovereignty.
The Attorney General's office.
The Attorney General's office, not on the sovereignty in the Hawaii Kingdom, but it's actually on one thing, it's actually on the treaty. So I'm curious if anybody has any questions on that. And then, Kalei, you're muted.
Yeah, okay. So the question I have on that, I wanted to get the number again.
Kalei.
Aloha. So anyway, I wanted to get the number that you cited for the whatever you're going after. The question about the treaties is that you know, when you communicate with the Attorney General, say, and for instance, the Lieutenant Governor's office, because the Lieutenant Governor's office is the Secretary of State, you know, for Hawaii anyway, the Lieutenant Governor's office is the Secretary of State. And so when you communicate with those two, is it in writing to them? Do you put something in writing, cite a law, and say, we want to enforce the treaties that are active, that are in effect, and then cite the treaties and cite the parts in the treaty that we're going after? So I kind of wanted to know that part, you know, who are you communicating with at the state level? You know, who? I heard Attorney General.
Yeah.
So now Attorney General is a department for sure, but then who at the Attorney General's, would it be the Attorney General person, the person that is the current Attorney General? And are you including the Lieutenant Governor's office?
Okay, so in 94, the circuit court ruled that my counter complaint against Ben Cayetano, because that is what the contested case was. So my name, I submitted my elections papers, and the complaint that Cayetano filed to have me removed from the governor's race was one of my basically the names and stuff on top of the my elections list. He was contesting that, and then more so importantly is I altered the oath of loyalty, meaning I took out in the oath, I took out anything reflecting the state of Hawaii and just put in Hawaii, and anything reflecting the United States of Hawaii Constitution, I put in Hawaii's Constitution, right? Then that instrument was authenticated and was filed, signed and sealed and filed with the elections office, and my name was placed on the ballot. Okay, so the counter complaint when Cayetano filed to remove me from the elections, I was basically arguing that no U.S. citizens can vote in Hawaii, and the court basically dismisses that without prejudice. And so now we didn't have a lot of these cases that I mentioned back then. And so I'm just using already U.S. Supreme Court decisions to compel enforcing the treaty and stopping all of non-Hawaiian nationals from voting in Hawaii.
Okay, so the purpose of that was to stop non-Hawaii nationals from voting in their election?
In Hawaii.
In Hawaii, okay. So what is that number that you cited? Is that a law number? Is that a section of the Hawaii revised statutes that you're using to go and complain about or trying to enforce the treaties between the United States and Hawaii?
Yeah, so in the treaty, it says only in the treaty it says that this geographical location is Hawaii, and the geographical location has an international agreement by treaty between the United States and Hawaii. So all I'm doing is I'm bringing in the statutes that articulates in Hawaiian Kingdom law, that says that only the United citizen, but subjects of the United Kingdom and the citizens of the United States are prohibited from voting in Hawaii. That's all.
What law number are you citing, and what law is that? Is that Hawaiian Kingdom law?
I'm utilizing their voting, their treaty code to enforce the treaty that compels the court to abide by.
Yeah, that's the number I was trying to get. I was trying to get whatever, because
it's 5 USC
Oh,
3331. C, I think it was. Charlie.
okay, yeah. So it's 5 USC, US
3331.
3331. Okay, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
That one, because I'm
It's treaty violations. Yeah.
right. So treaty violations, you have Hawaiian Kingdom laws, and then you have the United States laws. And so if you're extracting their law to argue that the treaties are not being followed, or you want to enforce it, I want to look that up. I want to check that. So that's fine. That answers my question.
Okay. Yeah. So more particularly though, in the McGirth versus state of Oklahoma, where the U.S. Supreme Court ruled, right? McGirth was arguing that he wasn't in the state of Oklahoma. He was on tribal land. And that's where that issue of treaty is, we didn't have that, back in 1994. So yeah, it's really great.
Well,
case.
I understand. I'm trying, but I'm also getting it. And I'm looking at the angle that you're approaching. And what I can see is that because you're using the US law for treaties, and because we have a treaty, because as you know, right, Luna, you know that Hawaiian Kingdom, we are an independent nation state. You know that. So that automatically puts us in the international arena. So when you complain and any kind of complaints go into the ICJ, right? The International Court of Justice is at The Hague. So we're in that arena, but that doesn't mean that we cannot attempt to use their own treaty laws to enforce treaties that they're not following for many reasons. I mean, you do different angles, but again, the Hawaiian Kingdom holds an international status, which is the same as the United States. We sit on we have the same footing as the United States.
Yeah.
We're not different. And just to throw in this thing, the word tribes is not even among Polynesians. I mean, if I'm wrong, you tell me I'm wrong, but it's all of Polynesia, we're not tribes. We never were tribes because we're separate islands. So therefore, Hawaiian Islands are different from, Samoa or Fiji, because we went into the family of nations. That's the only difference. Other than that, the Polynesian islands have that similarity, and the way we are situated is that. So we're not tribes like the Native Americans, which they coined the word tribes. Okay, so but I'm saying we already had our own verbiage, language for who we are as Polynesians. So whenever they use tribes to us, that's already wrong.
Yeah. So it's essentially whether or not the Hague is an issue, not in this case, right? The only focus in this case is I, as an American, right? I'm going into the American courts, and all I'm doing is I'm doing exactly what McGirth had done in his case. I just said, no, here's the treaty. This is the 5 tribes that this treaty enforces, and I wasn't in the state of Oklahoma. That's the only focus. Not addressing any other issues like what Keanu Sai guys did, or what my cousin Bumpy guys did. I'm not addressing any of those issues. The only issue is there's a vote that's going on in Hawaii, and I entertained that question that there was treaties violations happening in 1994, and I'm just bringing that question forward. That's all.
That makes sense. Anybody else have any questions? Kalei, you have more?
I don't have more. I'm trying to, take it all in and understand his approach and the concept and the approach that he is going towards. Because for me, just to let Luna know, for me, I started to, my background is I'm born and bred Molokai. Okay, so in 1992, I began my research on what happened in Hawaii, simply because 1993 was the 100th anniversary of the overthrow of our queen. So I worked for the newspapers, Advertiser Star Bulletin, and I had a call from a relative. Hey, are you going to go to this event? Yes, I am. Hey, do you know any of the Hawaiian issues? No, I don't. Well, we can't go to the palace and not know anything about Hawaiian issues. So we began a study group, which began October 1992. We studied every Sunday. And so from that point on is when 1993, and I believe from 1993 to 1994 is when we found out, it was a shock, that Hawaii was overthrown. It was a shock. And then there's no treaty. That was a shock. We're not Americans. That was a shock. So we're finding out the lies that was perpetrated on the Hawaiians. You know, it was perpetrated. They stole Hawaii in 1893. Let's call that spade a spade. And they overthrew our queen. It is an independent nation state. And our arguments and our fight is at the international level, not to diminish what your approach may be, not to diminish at all, because they are fraudulent, number one. They lie, number two. They stole. They started with stealing, or they could have started with lying, but they eventually stole. Now, if we in Hawaii know that they stole Hawaii, they overthrew the queen, they're lying, what more do we expect from them? What more do you expect from people that get elected into a government? What do you expect when they steal and they don't return what they stole? Please, I need to know the answer. What else do you expect? So, in other words, go into this, whatever we do, we need to have our eyes wide open as to who we are dealing with. They're liars. They're stealers. Don't expect truth to come out of them. Don't expect sorries to come out of them. Well, they said sorry. 1993, they said they were sorry on paper. That's all they did. So I appreciate and respect the approach to see the outcome. But from my knowledge of Hawaiian Kingdom laws, especially, we are, yes, the de jure government. But if you look throughout the world, okay, they're trying to put in de facto governments throughout the world. I believe Hawaii was a prototype, one of the prototypes. You know, how can we operate with a de facto government and fool the people? Well, 1893 to today, did they fool the people? Yeah, they did. So this is how they're operating. You know, overthrowing legitimate countries, creating a de facto government and operating as a de facto government. That's what's happening. So just all I say is be mindful, open your eyes, understand who you're dealing with. That's all. As long as you understand you're dealing with a perpetrator, a thief.
No, I think
We're all
I think
Christians.
yeah, no, very true. Very, very true. Mahalo for that. I think he does understand who he's dealing with. I mean, I think you guys understand more than me the evilness that is of the U.S. government. But there was a treaty between the United States and Hawaii. 1830 was the treaty for them. So that's what I think that Luna is going toward, is the treaty, and versus
26.
I'm sorry, thank you. 1826. So because there was a treaty by not just the U.S. but Spain, France, Great Britain. You know, so many. So I think that that's the angle he's reaching for now, because what's been going on, in my opinion, outsider here, it's not working. What's been going on with all the Hawaii kingdoms and everything? Yeah, exactly. So so I think it's a great thing to try something different.
So
And
so maybe if I go back a little bit more. Okay, so I grew up in Hilo, right? My on my mom's side of the family is Kahau Kapu. That's Lat Kapu'ewa's granddaughter. On my father's side, the Haunio, down Kalapana, and then Kapapala Ka'u is the Kanaka Ole Hoano. So you know, I got into the sheriff's department in 2004. You know, I've seen many of the articulations that was brought before the courts. I participated in about 38 different lawsuits and contested cases, primarily because of Haole kind of and sit down next to me in court one day when I was doing security work there, and she asked me if I was Hawaiian. I said yes, ma'am, and she told me that her name is Betty. You can call me Big Betty. She's a beautiful woman. She shared with me her when she was growing up in the state of Florida, where she showed me photo albums of just oranges, groves, just farms as far as you can see. And as she turned the page, you started seeing all of these outcroppings happening. And she's told me if I don't get involved with what's going on here, it was a contested case hearing that was happening down in the Riviera's down south corner, South Kau. And she said, if I don't get involved, this is what's going to happen to your home. And so that kind of turned me. Also with the amount of revolving doors that all of the kids that the bench warrants that I've initiated, and the same families, 7 years go by, it's like, oh, now I'm arresting the kids. Now I'm arresting the grandkids. I mean, it was stupid. After 7 years, I was like, something's wrong. Something has to be done. So was involved with initiating many of along with Judge Ibarra, many of the initiatives for the drug court programs, and so much at-risk programs and stuff, the teen courts. So been involved with structuring many of those. Still, a lot of the arguments of the many different families, bringing forth the issues of sovereignty into the courts. I began to recognize the certain patterns that was happening. And so essentially what happened, most recently was on Maui. My wife provided the trauma, and I responded to do investigations for any of the families that couldn't afford hiring that type of work. So when I witnessed what was happening there, it was just so evil. And I was like, where is these, Hawaiian sovereignty leaders stopping this type of evil behavior? There's thousands of people, and hundreds of kids still unaccounted for, So, where is all the sovereignty leaders? How come they're not pounding the ground, there? So,
Well, let me interrupt you. Sorry. Just can you answer that question for us, Luna? The
Yes, go
question you have since Lahaina, let me relate it to Lahaina. The question is, where are all the Hawaiian sovereignty leaders? Can you answer that for us?
Yeah, that's my question, right? Because I went there for 9 months, and so, I saw, I saw family members of my own, we had to bury them, so I'm like, yeah, where is this, this Hawaiian government, so I realized, as I examine, the international decisions, as I examine how, the courts have been articulating that, you'll not get the remedy you're looking for at an international level, because definitely if the party refuses to play because they can, you won't get any remedy there. I'm just seeing the kinds of remedies that are happening, right here. As an American, I'd rather shoot it there and see where it goes.
I agree with that because at The Hague, what happened at The Hague when he took the United States to The Hague, the US never even showed up. And there was, you know, even though there was a judgment for him, for the guy who took the case to The Hague, nothing happened. So I think let's give this a shot. Like I think it's a great plan. And it's something different that hasn't been done yet. So Luna, does
Well-
anybody else have any questions, or Luna, you want to share anything else? And then also, do you need anything from your people? And we have, it just says owner, your name, you're in pink. I don't know your name.
Mary
Mary,
Hi,
what's your,
Maxwell.
Max? Oh, okay. Yeah. Hi. Aloha. I get your emails. What's a question?
Okay. I'm sorry that I only came in at 4 o'clock, so maybe you covered it before that, but Miss Michelle rather frequently mentions when she's talking about something else that the statehood, we have 50 states, 13 original, so the other 37 must have each come in some way, and maybe the 19, is it 59?
1959, that's correct.
In what way, Miss Michelle, are you saying it didn't really happen, you know, according to the book? I'd be just curious to know.
Oh, well, actually, Calais or Luna could probably answer that better of how Hawaii is not fully annexed as a state, because it says it came in. So Calais is the one that we did a 3-part series on this.
I'll go ahead and I'll give it a short shot. If Luna wants to jump in, he can. Okay, so to answer her question, in 1893, chronologically, 1893, the Queen was overthrown. Okay, overthrown means illegal to begin with. In 1897, 1896, 97, 98, 1896, 1897, 1890, the insurgents, people that were that started the overthrow were from Hawaii. About 9 of them, maybe 10, were Hawaiian subjects. So they were treasonous. They committed a treasonous act against their country, against the Queen. And so the rest were US citizens or from either Germany or a foreign country. So the insurgents had the help of the United States to overthrow the Queen. So in 1896, 1897, and 98, they tried to go to the United States Congress and get an annexation treaty signed, but it was declined. In 1896, declined. In 1897, declined. One of the reasons for them declining, the Congress has to approve it. The senators in the U.S. Congress, they're the only ones that can approve an annexation treaty. And before a treaty is even approved, there are criteria that you have to meet. Number 1 criteria is that you have to have 2/3 vote of the total population of that country to vote for, we want to be annexed, we want to hand over our sovereignty. 2/3 vote. That didn't happen because 98% of the Hawaiian subjects at the time signed what we call a ku'e petition. Ku'e, or a petition against the annexation. That was 21,000 plus 17,000 signatures, that the total equal to 98% of the total population in the Hawaiian Islands. So 2% were the ones that wanted to overthrow and have annexation, and that can't happen. They don't have the 2/3 vote. That's number 1. Number 2, the United States, one of their criteria to do an annexation treaty is you have to have common borders. Okay, we're across the ocean. There's no common border. Okay, so that would be another main reason that they would not be able to do a treaty, an annexation treaty. The next thing was, and it's very crucial, is that when they went to the senators to ask for their okay and to sign off, the southern senators, Alabama, Georgia, all the southern states, Florida, all of the states at the time, they just got through fighting the Civil War against slavery. So these southern senators were telling them, are you kidding? North Carolina, South Carolina, are you kidding us? You just fought a war to release the slaves, and now you want us to bring Hawaii in and they have contract labor? No way. They said, no way. So unanimously, the Congress, the senators said no. So there is no annexation treaty. The only instrument from the United States that says that has the word annexation is the Newlands. It's a U.S. resolution, not a law, and it's called the Newlands resolution. It was Senator Newlands sponsored this, and it was a question to the Congress, to the president, to the senators, to the House of the congressmen. Hey, the question is, should we annex the Hawaiian Islands? And they all said yes. They all signed yes. So it's a US resolution, which is a United States law that is only effective within the boundaries of the United States. It cannot operate outside the boundaries of the United States, because if it could, you wouldn't have World War II or World War I or any wars, because the United States can do a resolution and say we want Japan. They can do a resolution, we want China. They did it in Hawaii. This is the prototype. It's a de facto state of the territory of Hawaii, the Republic of Hawaii, as you move forward, and then you hit 1959, state of Hawaii. State of Hawaii is a corporation. It's a federal state. It is not a sovereign state. There's only 48 sovereign states. Okay, Alaska, the 49th state, is a federal state, comes under the federal government. Hawaii is a federal state, a corporation coming under the federal government. We are not a sovereign state. And these are all the reasons. So if Luna wants to jump in, he can. Go ahead, Luna.
Oh, mahalo. Okay, so I'm gonna add to, I'm gonna add to your chronology, right? So this is the Constitution of the United States. So in 93, the incident created an investigation by the president's office. So the investigation came up with this blunt report. Well, with the blunt report, it'll articulate for you, Mary, that if you go to Article 4, Section 3, from the blunt report alone, it says, under the Constitution, it says, new states may be admitted by the Congress into the Union, but no new state shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state.
So California can't split into North and South.
Well, there can only be one state seeking admissions into the Union, according to the Constitution, okay? So, so definitely the movers and shakers in Hawaii in 1893, right? Definitely after the report, the blunt report came out, they would fail just primarily based upon this Constitution to become a part of the Union, okay? That's one. However, I'm going to go back to the case that I referenced earlier, is McGirth versus the state of Oklahoma. So the state needed to prove that they were not obligated to abide by an 1832 treaty. The state had to argue that they are not obligated to abide by the 1832 treaty. The US Supreme Court ruled, yes, you do.
And
so all of the lands that was in the treaties between the United States and the tribes went back to the tribes.
And then what happens with the people that are in that land now? So if somebody's living on tribal land, what's the benefit of that for Oklahoma?
So like I shared with you, Michelle, on the last And so I got a chance to meet with many Oklahomans that visited Hawaii. And, I would ask them pretty much like, so are you on this side of Oklahoma or on the tribe side? And the ones that pretty much was on the tribe side, I would say about a high 90%. They kind of perked up and they said, well, it's great. And primarily the greatest part was that if they wanted to build, the red tape was much less, and they only pay one tax. That's it.
To the tribe, not to the state and the federal, and which actually that's all bogus, and that's a whole another topic. But so did that answer your question, Mary? It's a
Yes,
lot.
but- yes, except I didn't quite get the idea of the borders. So Alaska also didn't have a border.
Right.
Who could enforce that issue?
So the borders, right? The borders, the state of Oklahoma has its borders, right? And the map was made up where the tribes are at, and so they enforce the borders. So in Hawaii, we have the treaty says from one end of the islands to the other.
You've just made me remember that Alaska was supposedly purchased, and I do think it might have been $7 million. So once it was purchased, it sort of belonged to the US, but there was never any history of a purchase of Hawaii. Is that
That's
right?
correct.
Yeah. Great question, by the way. That was a really good question. Does anybody else have any questions?
Well, on hers regarding Alaska, it was purchased. It was purchased, the United States purchased Alaska from Russia. Okay, but Russia is not the original owner. It's not the owner. So the Eskimos, the Alaskan Eskimos, they challenged that in court. And that's the reason why the Eskimos got back, in reality, they got back all of their lands. But because the United States found gas and oil and all that kind of stuff on there, they went and deviously through deceit, they went and did agreements with the Eskimos. And this was back in the 60s and the early 70s. And these bad agreements that they did with the Eskimos were, they agreed to give the Eskimos 13 corporations in exchange for 48% of the lands in Alaska, which just so happened to be the parts of the lands that had gas and oil, most of it. So they did this agreement between the Eskimos, and they signed it. I don't know how in Hawaii the leaders, they did that, but they did it. So the Eskimos own 13 corporations, and corporations can be dissolved or can lose money or can, so I don't know why they went and took land, gave up land and took corporations. I don't understand that part at all. But that's what they did, what the Americans did when it was revealed that you bought this from Russia and Russia is not the owner of Alaska. And so now today, through those agreements, is how the federal government, United States federal government, owns 48% of the lands. If you look at the map of Alaska, it is way bigger than the state of Texas. And if you understand how much petroleum, oil, and natural gas exists in Alaska besides other resources, it'll blow your socks off as to why would an Eskimo, sign that agreement? Deceit, lies and deceit.
Yeah, can I add to that, Clay?
Go ahead.
So, this McGirt decision just happened in 2020. So, it's brand spanking new. If there's any treaties that, that was established in Alaska, just all I'm saying is, we didn't have that back then. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. So my question, well, first, if there's any other questions, but then I do want Luna just to say one more time the process that he's going through right now, and then also do you need any help from locals?
Yeah, so essentially, you know, litigations always cost money. So, you know, I want to put up my web page. You know, I'm not gonna do any of the kind online what do you call donations.
Well, are you gonna use a regular, you're not using a regular lawyer though, are you?
Lawyer, lawyers to deal with this question, they're you know, they're pretty much they're fearful because, you know, it may jeopardize their license. So
So yeah, so you're not using a lawyer.
no.
Good, good, good. I'm really glad to hear that. Any other questions? Okay, cool. So Luna, is just one more wrap up of what is the process that you've already taken. What are you taking next?
Yeah, so essentially, again, you know, once the you know, it's a restraining order against the state from having any foreigners vote in Hawaii, and essentially, you know, we'll see what the court rules, because it's in elections. It's an expedited process. Primarily, they need to rule immediately because, you know, it's elections.
And so this is because this the treaty is not being followed, that Hawaii is a trust for the people, for the Hawaiian people, and that the Hawaiian people are the Hawaiian natives are the ones that can vote in Hawaii, since the land based on the trust belongs to the Hawaiian people. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the trust is a separate issue. This is just going after illegal aliens voting in Hawaii. That's contrary to the treaties. That's the only focus, right?
Okay, then I was mistaken. Okay.
And then as far as, you know, the trust is concerned, right? Again, pretty much most people who have familiarized themselves throughout the years with the 1830 Declaration, followed by the 1840 Constitution, followed by the, you know, indices, the Mahalo, right? Followed by all of these treaties that was first with the United States in 1826. It's just staying within that time frame. Anything happening after that, it's a non-issue. And then once the elections are halted, you know, there's remedies that I'm demanding, because, you know, this is Hawaii. So I'm asking for the courts to basically the executive office of the state of Hawaii is being held by an alien. So I need to have the alien removed and install the rightful candidate.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's send you lots of aloha and inner strength and guidance for all of that, and then we can keep doing these Zooms. Mahalo so much for everybody for joining. Again, if you have any friends, if you want to get this out, standtogetherhawaii.com is where to send people. Were you going to say something else, Luna?
Yeah, I just wanted to put out there that I have the website. I'm going to be tracking, you know, downloading all of the complaint and the answers, you know, all of the, be transparent with my efforts. And it's on hawaiipaeaina.org.
Okay, you want to put that in the oh, I can put it in the chat, so if people want to grab that. Oh, here we go. I'll put it right here. Hawaii PAEAINA.org.
Right.
So Hawaiipaeaina.
Oh, PAE.
Yeah, yes. It auto corrected me. Let me change
So my
that.
question, my last question is, okay, so if you achieve what you're going for, which I wrote it down, that you're going after the state and to stop illegal aliens from voting in elections in Hawaii, correct?
That's correct.
So if you accomplish that, what happens to the voting in Hawaii? What
So
would that look like?
the voting should stop, and the only lawful candidate, which I was put on the ballot in '94, the only lawful candidate would be me. So that would be basically taking the governor's office.
And then the people that can vote would be,
Well, there's no competent election right now until
That's true.
the head of the state, which is the governor, is removed, and it's somebody that can articulate Hawaiian rights and Hawaiian law, would take its place.
Okay. All right. No other questions. Let's do a quick prayer, everybody. Great Spirit, infinite intelligence of all things. You've got this boat that we're all in. We're all here in the canoe. We all got perfect timing. We're headed in the right direction with you, Great Spirit, leading the way. We're on this amazing wave, and we just know, and we just give so much gratitude for the guidance and all the angels that are behind us that got our back. And Great Spirit, we just ask that anything that is in the way of the huli of the Hawaii nation, that it just, by you, Great Spirit, by your divineness, just be moved out of the way, so that this boat goes smoothly into shore with no rocks, no major swells. Just we're coming into a beautiful, beautiful scene with calm waters, Great Spirit. And we know that this can be done. This can be done in peace. This can be done easily. This can be done quickly, and this can be done in the most divine way. And we ask for that right now, Great Spirit. And we know that it is so. And anyone who is feeling the call in their heart to be part of this huli, they always show up in ways we know and ways we don't know. And we give you so much gratitude for this beautiful Aina that we live on, Great Spirit, and for all the people that are hearing the sound of my voice, for beating their hearts and breathing their bodies and giving each person here inner strength and courage to get this done, to get this huli accomplished, Great Spirit. And we know that it is done. And so it is. Mahalo, Luna, Kalei,
Mahalo.
Mary, everybody who joined.
I love your
All
prayer.
right, we'll be on. We'll be on shortly, and I'll keep you posted on the happenings. And you know what? We just keep going. We just keep going.
Yep.
That's why we're here.
thank
Much
you,
aloha,
Michelle.
everyone.
Thank you,
All
Michelle.
right, bye.
Hello,
You're welcome.
everyone. Aloha.